Hi everyone, Pam Gregory, astrologer. I'm going to be speaking to you today about the second half of November and the new supermoon that we have coming up in Scorpio on the 14th or 15th, depending on where in the world you live. Now, I'd like to start by talking about Mars. Now, Mars normally moves through a sign in 6 weeks, but unusually because of its retrograde motion, it's staying in its own sign of Aries from the end of June 2020 all the way through to January 2021, and that's really unusual. So see where Aries as a sign falls in your chart, which house area of life it falls in. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can download a free birth chart from my website. Go to this link above. You can buy a two-part video series from my store, and that will explain what the meaning of this update means for you, but also any update I ever do. So it's a great way to start to learn. So see where Aries falls in your chart, because that area of your life will have been very energized, activated since the end of June. However, since the 9th of September, Mars has been in retrograde motion. Apparently, it's an apparent illusion going backwards in relation to the Earth, and that can be a very good time to redo things. But it's quite a frustrating time for Mars because Mars is a very simple, direct energy of action. I just want to go. I want to achieve my goal. Don't need to check in with anybody. Don't want any interruptions, obstacles. I just want to go do it quickly and achieve. So not only has Mars been retrograde since the 9th of September, but it's also been squaring those Capricorn planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto. So the urge of Mars, which is about I want individual freedom, independence and autonomy, has been blocked by rules and regulations, governmental laws, etc. And it's very, very clear how that's worked. On the 14th of November, Mars moves stationary direct. And whenever a planet is changing direction and it moves stationary, it's almost like turning around a big ship. It sort of drills down on some specific degrees while it's slowing down and then starting off in a different direction. So Mars is all month, the whole of November, drilling down on 15 and 16 degrees of Aries. So if you have any planets or angles around about 15, 16 of the cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, you might have particularly felt some frustration in your life where you're blocked from what you want to achieve. However, from the 14th of November, that starts to move forward. So now the symbolism will be magnified, not just on the 14th, but several days to either side of that stationary direct day. So the symbolism of Mars at a very obvious level of anger, aggression, impulsivity, we may see in the world. Try and raise it to a higher level. Try and bring it inwards to become more coherent and less scattered than that. So this becomes your warrior's courage, your conviction, your hero energy in what you want to achieve. But for sure, I think we'll start to feel more clarity and more momentum, because as of this midpoint in the month, we now have Mercury that went direct on the 3rd of November, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, all moving direct. Neptune joins the party, moving direct on the 29th of the month, which I'll talk about in a moment. So that only leaves Uranus in retrograde motion. So this is interesting because earlier in the year, a lot of these outer planets were retrograde. And this was sort of overlapping with the period that we were in our first lockdown. And it was a new virus, and we very much went into our cave because we hadn't experienced this kind of thing before. However, with the planets now moving direct, even though second lockdowns are now being imposed across very widespread geography, Europe, UK, etc., this is really, I think, about how do people feel about that? How do we feel about it? And is it different from how we felt during the first lockdown? So this is going to be very interesting, but it can give momentum to the energy. It can give clarity to what you want to achieve. Your values almost certainly will have changed through this year. but there's a sense of quickening, the energy quickening. And even though we're still in very constrained circumstances in our homes, I think there is going to be a huge tumbling out, spilling out of events and disclosure that are going to accelerate events on all kinds of levels, and certainly going to accelerate the collapse of the old big time. So, very interesting period that we're entering. And I really want to say that these 2 months, November very much and into December, have an enormous concentration of astrological energy. I almost lose vocabulary to describe this, and that's why it is an incredibly special opportunity to really use our energy well, use our manifesting energy well, and I'll be talking about that later in this video. So, on the 14th of November at 9:07 p.m. PST, Pacific time, and on the 15th, 5:07 a.m. UK time, we have a new supermoon at 23 degrees and 17 minutes of Scorpio. So again, see where this falls in your chart. This is a significant new beginning. Set a new intention for what seed you want to plant at this time and in that area of life where it's falling for you. But this is our third supermoon in a row. So there's a building sense of a new beginning. So the moon, this means that the moon is very close to the Earth at this time, because a supermoon means that it's closer in its orbit to the Earth, and therefore our emotions tend to be heightened because the moon rules our emotions. Not only that, but it's in Scorpio. Scorpio is the most intense emotional sign of any in the zodiac. So we're going to be feeling very strong emotions, very intense at this time. Scorpio par excellence is the sign that's to do with secrets, but it's also to do with digging deep into those secrets. I see this in the charts of researchers, people who work in a forensic area or in the CID in the UK, where their instinct, their urge is to get to the bottom of things. They're never superficial. They have to uncover secrets, and often in Scorpio these can be quite murky. This can be sort of taboo areas or sexual areas of life very often. So this is very strong, this urge to dig deep, and that's really emphasized by Mercury also being in Scorpio at 5 degrees of Scorpio, still in this quite long running opposition to Uranus. So Mercury's digging deep into the secrets. Uranus is clarity, truth, and awakening, very much connected to disclosure. So this is very clear themes that we're seeing here. And so a lot, I think, is going to come to light at this time, but this is going to roll on. This isn't just for this particular new supermoon. These disclosures are going to roll on all the way through next year, but this is just another particular peak in this. So Mercury-Uranus oppositions are to do, as I say, with clarity, truth, and awakening. It's often a time when we can get downloads of information. Uranus is connected to the mind of God. It's connected to our superconscious. It's connected to the galactic. We could get galactic news at this time, or some people could get downloads from galactic beings. That's very possible. It may also bring about cyber attacks or internet cutouts, so make sure you've backed up your data at this time, just to be sure. So this is a very intense supermoon, not only because it's in Scorpio, which is to do with intensity and passion, not only because the moon is closer to the Earth, but also Mars is stationary direct. Now, Mars is the ancient ruler of Scorpio, and Mars is in its own sign, and it's emphasized again because it's stationary, and it's emphasized because it's the ancient ruler of Scorpio. So there's a lot of focus here, focus, intensity, drive. Now, I mentioned in the last video that there are two symbols for, astrological symbols for Scorpio. One is the scorpion, and the other is the phoenix. Now, the ancient ruler of Scorpio, Mars, very much represents the Scorpio side. It's the animal instinct, it's the gut reaction. It's where we feel those primal urges or anger, aggression, etc., impulsivity. But once Pluto was discovered in 1930, it was realised that that was really a better ruler for Scorpio. It's the modern ruler. It's also to do with spiritual transformation. It's a profound transformational planet. And Pluto represents the phoenix, the ability to rise above the chaos and volatility and all that we're going to be seeing unfolding in our world and get to that kind of eagle's perch of neutrality, of objectivity, where we can watch what's unfolding but have a greater mastery of where we're putting our energy and what we're creating. And that's so important because it stops us getting into this repeating pattern of polarity, of left, right, good, bad, black, white, political polarity. That noise has gone on for thousands and thousands of years. So we have to break the pattern to get to unity consciousness. We have to break the pattern to get to something higher and better. And that eagle's perch or phoenix position offered by the link to Scorpio gives us this opportunity. But this is a strong, strong, strong supermoon. Okay, so in addition, what are the other aspects happening at this time? Well, the Sun and Moon, always together at a new moon, are exact by degree in a sextile to both Jupiter and Pluto. So Jupiter will make us want to expand our horizons, it'll want us to have more freedom, be dreaming about travel, that kind of thing. Pluto will give us potentially empowerment in that. And in Capricorn, building for the long term. So this can be very positive because this is really urging us to find the deeper Pluto-Jupiter meaning in our lives. In what way can you find that deeper meaning? Are you drawn to more esoteric subjects, mysterious subjects? Astrology, for instance, very much connected to Scorpio, I believe. So finding deeper meaning in your life. Or is your new beginning in having a relationship, a really close emotional relationship, if this is falling in your 5th or 7th houses in your birth chart? So see what this is drawing towards you. But I think, as I say, we are going to have more clarity about our goals and where we want to go in our next episode in life, even if life is very constrained in lockdowns at the moment. Also, at this full supermoon, we have Venus making a T-square to the Capricorn planets and also the Eris in Aries. Aries is in a very tight formation with Venus in Libra and those Capricorn planets forming a T-square. So this could produce currency changes. Venus is always linked to currency. Or there could be something in relationship where you have an urge to be free, Eris in Aries, but you also have the urge for stability, particularly at this time. So there's a kind of push-pull effect happening here. So just be aware of that and you may have to let it pass in current circumstances, but just kind of notice it. Eris is also in an exact square to Jupiter on the 17th of the month, but it's broadly in a square to both Jupiter and Pluto because they're all operating at, well, Eris is at 23 of Aries, Jupiter, Pluto at 23 of Capricorn. So this is again coming back to this theme of Eris, where it feels sister of Mars in myth, where she feels not heard or slighted, that she wants to kick off on the streets to change that status quo and challenge that top-down series of rules, regulations coming from the government. So we're going to see this just rolling on, as I say, and Eris continues in its square to Pluto till October 2021. So I think that's the social and civil unrest may continue all the way through into that time as well. So what's interesting is not only this very strong truth, clarity and awakening energy with Uranus opposing Mercury at this time, but we've also got some strong Neptunian energy coming in because we have this long-term T-square between Neptune and the nodal axis that becomes exact in January, but it's only 2 degrees away from exactitude right now. So with these waves of disclosure coming out, we may feel that we've achieved clarity, but then we might hit fog, because that Neptune squaring the nodal axis takes us back to this theme of what's true and what's not. What can I believe? What's true and what's not? Neptune at the lower level can be around illusion, delusion, deception even. So it can create this kind of layering effect of we've hit truth and then there's fog, and then we hit more truth and then there's more fog. So we're going to go through a whole process here where our beliefs, our old beliefs about how reality has existed, are going to be rattled to the core. South Node in Sagittarius, old belief systems. Also, Neptune can be beautiful at its higher level. We've got a lovely trine between Mercury and Neptune on the 24th of the month. This is wonderful for your imagination and your creativity. And on the 29th of the month, as I mentioned earlier, Neptune is going to become stationary direct at 18 of Pisces. So at the higher level, this can give a yearning to connect to source, to the ethereal realms. Be very aware of your dreams at this time. Neptune's always has a strong connection to dreams. So really try and keep a dream diary if you don't already, particularly around that time. You can get great guidance then. But overall, I really want to say that this is, as I said earlier, this is such a concentrated time of change, where the analogy I've used before is moving down the birth canal. We're entering the narrowest part of the birth canal through November and early December. Now, the baby can get stuck, but it doesn't turn and go backwards. There's no going back. The past is gone. So this can feel at its most intense, but nevertheless, we are on our way to a new birth, if you like, a new earth. So it's incredibly important, because this is such a window of opportunity for manifesting, that we are very conscious and aware of our thoughts and our emotions at this time. And you may think, well, that's just daft, because maybe you live on your own, you're silent for a lot of the day, nobody can hear your thoughts or emotions. Well, actually, that's not true. Not necessarily hear them, but feel them, because our thoughts are our electrical impulses, our emotions are magnetic waves, and together they get into a biofeedback loop, which produces our emotional set point. And it's that we're broadcasting to the field, to the collective, all the time. Even if you're alone in your home and you have no awareness of that, that's what we're doing all of the time. And by the way, creating our own individual future in doing that. So, and you can even, some proof of this, to prove it's not woo-woo, is your thoughts can be measured outside your head by a machine called a magnetoencephalograph. Can measure outside your head the frequency of the thoughts you're broadcasting. So I think what might be helpful here, I mentioned this in a Facebook post today, is if you imagine that your thoughts and your feelings, even if you're alone and silent, have loud speakers on them. They have loudspeakers attached to them. So you are actually shouting your thoughts and feelings to the world. You're shouting them. They really have an effect on the collective, but if you're thinking about your individual future, that's what you're creating in every moment. And that, because our manifesting power is higher at the moment, because the veil is thinner between us and the higher realms, you're going to be more powerful in creating a not good future or creating a fabulous future. And the other thing that I often do, and I've done it for a long time, but I think it's particularly helpful right now, if I hear some bad news that I don't like, and it's pouring into us all the time, isn't it? I simply say, I do not choose that as my reality. I do not choose that as my reality. And I will instantly turn my focus to what I do choose as my reality. Do I love a person or a pet? Or do I love the trees? Or simple that you can get to instantly, that you are already feeling. So it's not that you say, I want to experience in my reality, because that pushes it into the future. It is what you are already feeling. I am loving being with my partner. I am loving being with my dog. I'm loving being with my child. Flick it. And that is my reality, not this stuff over here that I consider to be bad news. So I do not choose this as my reality. That's what I say. The other thing which I remembered the other day that is almost certainly an apocryphal story, but I think it's very helpful, and it had great meaning for me a few years ago when I heard this. It's about a Tibetan master who works in a temple in the Himalayas. And he's speaking with one of his students. And he's explaining that there are 2 dogs outside the temple that guard the temple. And one is very gentle and affectionate and submissive and very sweet-natured, lovely dog. But the other dog is much more aggressive, attacking, impulsive, not a very nice dog to be around, and it keeps attacking the sweet-natured dog, and the dogs fight. So the student says to the master, "And which dog wins?" And the master says, "The one I feed the most." So which timeline are you feeling right now? Which timeline are you feeling? Because we always have multiple timelines available to us, but they're 2 really clear timelines happening right now. The one that's collapsing and the one that we're building. We're building a motorway into 5D. An 8-lane motorway and getting bigger all the time into 5D. So which timeline are you feeding in every moment with your loudspeaker thoughts and feelings? Because I find that a very simple, helpful analogy. But we are feeling the intensity build, we're feeling the eclipse energy. The lunar eclipse in Gemini happens on the 30th of November. I'm going to cover that in the next video. It's too much to talk about now, but we are already within that eclipse energy of pivot point change. So the more that we can keep our frequency high, which I always talk about, the faster we can bring that new earth towards us, and the more magnificent we can make it be if we all join that momentum, ride that coherent wave of love, peace, joy, bliss, laughter. And we're going to pull a beautiful world towards us. So I hope that's been helpful for you. If you'd like more information about my books, my teaching videos, my very long monthly newsletter, just check out my website, pamgregory.com, and I will also just put a link below to my astrology Facebook page. I've got an awful lot of friend requests on Facebook. I can't add those people because I'm at my max of 5,000 on Facebook on my main page. They won't let me add any more. I can't reply to everybody. So the link for my astrology page on Facebook, which is the next step, Pam Gregory Astrology, I'm going to put that link below and you can follow my post there. I hope that's helped you all, and have a wonderful new supermoon in Scorpio on the 14th, 15th, and don't forget to set your new intention. Bye for now.